In a world where dreams meet reality, there exists a place where your business can flourish. That place is Shopify. Imagine having the power to craft your online store with tools that make it as easy as a gentle breeze. Whether you're an artisan of handmade wonders, a creator of digital treasures, or a curator of the latest trends, Shopify stands by your side. With its customizable templates, seamless integrations, and support that's always there, your dream store is just a heartbeat away. Join millions of visionaries around the globe and let Shopify guide you on your journey. Visit roguemedianetwork.com/Shopify. That's roguemedianetwork.com/SHOPIFY. And embark on your free trial. Shopify, where your commerce dreams come to life. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today. This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
I thought I saw something.
I lose you guys again. What?
Someone.
What's going on? What are you guys looking at? Abaddon eyes. That's what we call it. Everybody feels like they saw something out of the corner of their eyes or just felt like they were being watched. It happens to all of us. Just our imagination's messing with us.
Abaddon eyes.
You coming?
Michael?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Very good. How are you, sir?
I am great. Thank you again for taking this time. I really appreciate it.
Oh, not at all. Anything for the franchise, Mr. Cognetti's franchise is it's fine with me.
He has he's done a heck of a job, hasn't he?
He is. He's really a brilliant filmmaker, and I'm just so happy that his most recent film has come out so good.
Yeah, the new one is very impressive. I've got to say, I love your performance in what you were in, but this fourth one really kind of builds on that legend, I think. And I guess we'll get to that. But again, thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, please, Michael, it's my pleasure. Is this okay? Blurred background?
Oh, it's fine. Absolutely. Yeah, not a problem. Okay. I may have a co-host join me here in a second, but traffic was bad here, so he's a little left behind. So you're unfortunately left with me.
Not unfortunate at all. No
okay.
problem.
Well, you don't know me, but maybe, yeah. Okay. So do you go by Brian David Tracy, or would you rather be just Brian, or what would you like for me to call you?
Brian is fine, Michael.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Brian David Tracy, that's my SAG, that's my real name, but that's the SAG name that you have to have.
Sure.
Brian Tracy, unfortunately, was taken up. So
I would imagine.
If you ever wonder why, you have people like Philip Seymour Hoffman, Daniel Day-Lewis, it's not because they're being egotistical, throwing their entire names in. Is simply because in order to get in the SAG, someone has already been there.
Yeah.
So this is the reason why. But yes, please, Michael, call me Brian.
Well, thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk about Mr. Andrew Tully. To give you an idea of this podcast, I hope that it made sense what I sent to you. The idea behind Abaddon Eyes is to explore the lore and the world that's being built within these films. It's not to rehash the films. It's not to review them. Although we've done that on another show of ours. We're big fans of the film, but I think I'm a bigger fan of creating a world. and telling those stories. Mr. Tully is fastly becoming the center of this overall tale. For me, it seems like if there were to be a fifth movie, which I don't know if you have any of that information or not, or whether you can share it, but if there were to be a fifth movie, I would think it would feature Tully, meeting of the guys at the fair, what happened, how the cult started, if it is a cult, all of those things. Can you tell me kind of your approach to this character? What did you know going in? What were you allowed to expand on? Did any of that make it? Those sorts of things. Tell me who Andrew Tully is for you.
Well, when I first read for the character, I thought it was a wonderful character right off the bat. The reason why I did enjoy it so much is because it was so multidimensional.
Yeah.
And what's great about the character is how Stephen wrote it, is that he has the character come on the television talk show as Tasselman, and who's completely polar opposite.
Yeah.
And so it was a wonderful character to come across. So in an odd way, you're talking about a character who can be very deceptive, obviously, and yet at the same time can be quite charming too.
Sure.
And even to the point of being the nerdish Tasselman, upset, uptight councilman, there's a little American pin there and the whole 9 yards. So you're talking about a very multi-dimensional character. And it's very interesting with Tully, because he is a man who, he commits suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And what drove him to that?
Yeah.
And when did he decide to go into that whole area of establishing a cult with Satan,
right,
and a relationship with the devil? And the whole atmosphere of going into that.
Right.
And so to me, it was just a wonderful multi-dimensional character. And I think one of the things that is so wonderful about Cognetti's writing, as well as his filmmaking, is his ability to leave so much up to the imagination, and that's, for me, the power of all of his films.
Mm-hmm.
He will tell you, enough to give you a good idea of what's going on, but still the viewer is engaged. Whoever watches it, there's an element of imagination there that you have to fulfill to fill in some of the elements behind it. And that's, at least the people I've talked to, people I've known who have seen all the films, that's one of the most intriguing elements of his work.
I find that anytime you make a horror movie, scary movie, whatever you want to call it, when I don't see the monster, it's far scarier than if the monster confronts me. And I think it's just that fear of the dark. And Tully kind of seems to command that. There's a lot of stuff floating around about him. You mentioned the suicide after the Abaddon closes. You also mentioned the satanic cult. And then I want to talk about the disappearance of, the disappearance of guests, because that is alluded to, that guests just started disappearing from the hotel when it was still operated as a hotel. And then also, I would love to ask Tully or Brian about his daughter. That is something that is very much left up to our imagination. We see the painting, which is kind of reminiscent of one of those big eye paintings, the big crying painting, whatever. Right. I have been told that painting has been referenced as a haunted object even outside of this Hell House world. that apparently there's a couple of folks that have gone and seen the painting, and they call it a haunted painting anyway because something's coming out of it or whatever. Whether you believe in that or not, it adds to that lore of the daughter, of the disappearance, of why Tully did it to begin with. Do you have any input on Tully and maybe what happened to his daughter? And did that have anything to do with the disappearance of the guests?
Well, I really can't answer that because, again, that's really some of the elements that Stephen has put in that he kind of wants to leave up to the imagination.
Sure.
You know, and I think he masterfully does that.
He does, he does a fine job. You just found the perfect product that helps with staying cool during hot summer runs. No more gross warm water. Stay cool with this product from Gear Handle. This hydration tube cover helps keep your water cool and easily accessible. Stay hydrated during those long summer runs or even delay from freezing in the winter. Plus, they're compatible with various brands of water bladders and come in various colors. Visit gearhandle.com and use promo code H2O today. If you were to, let's just say you were to guess, what would you think happened with the daughter?
If I had to make a wild guess, I'd say something very tragic happened to the daughter, which is one of the reasons why he's in a position where he's almost wanting to sell his soul, anything, you know, to get her back. It's wonderful what you pointed out about the painting, you know, the other elements, you know, all these different harbingers of things to come, and that they give that element of not really knowing why this is happening. To me, the imagination engagement, it's like, for example, if the director's cut of Aliens, Cameron, I was frankly disappointed when he went back into, you know, the character of Newt, who somehow survived this whole thing. I was very disappointed when he went back in and showed in the director's cut everything that was going on. I was far more frightened seeing the original version of it, when suddenly you're confronted with this little girl who, even though she's surrounded by Marines, realizes that it's not enough. And what did she go through? How did she survive? How did this whole thing? We have to provide that.
Yeah.
And I think Stephen does that throughout his films. You know, he'll give you a little hint what goes on in here, all the way up to his current film.
Yeah.
But I love that imagination element that Mr. Cognetti brings in.
So I'm a little confused as to the daughter and the disappearance of the guests and what initially drove Tully there. It seems like there was a warrant out for him. He ran to another state. Then he meets up with these folks at the fair. Then we get the clowns and all that sort of thing. But I want to know, and I'm sure Reddit will hate me for asking this, but I want to know what happened between whatever tragically happened to the daughter and the meeting at the fair. That just seems to be such fertile ground for legend or more lore, you know? And I think that Tully is probably the only one that can answer that.
I agree with you. I think, though, considering the situation with Stephen, and I believe with the success that he's had with the franchise, and especially now with the most recent, wonderful reviews, and came at a wonderful time too, when people are hungry for this. And unfortunately, with the strike and everything, there wasn't a lot out there, and Stephen came in and hit a home run with this. And I agree with you. I think he's probably going to go to another area and that might be included in there, and that's kind of sacred
I
ground that
gotcha.
I don't want to walk
Sure,
on.
sure. That's what I was alluding to. Yeah, I think there's an unspoken thing between us there. Yeah, we kind of understand. Okay, so let's talk about Tully in general. The first time we meet him is on this television show, because the councilman mysteriously cannot make it. We don't realize who it is to begin with until the conversation goes on, and then we finally find out that it is him. What do you think? And I don't think this is stepping on any toes or lore or anything. What do you think Tully was able to control, make happen, so that the councilman wouldn't be there? Is that part of his powers, do you think, or is that part of the deal he's made?
I think it's a combination of, you either, like Bob Dylan said, you either, serve the Lord or you serve the devil.
Sure.
You take
Sure.
your pick, man. When you do that, there are going to be powers that are going to come your way.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he had the man killed. I mean,
Sure.
he reveals later to, let me see, who was it? To Susie,
Mm-hmm.
Amanda's character, that indeed he just called and he said, sorry, he couldn't make the interview, so it
Yeah.
wasn't like he got killed. But when you have this kind of situation, when you sell your soul like that, you have powers that can come in. No.
The interesting part about him is, there's a lot of interesting parts. And by the way, you play the character masterfully. I really enjoyed your portrayal of this character, and I hope to see that again. But
thank you. I appreciate that.
The interesting part of Tully to me is that he seems to be the only one that can kind of come and go as he pleases. He is, I'm assuming he holds some sort of key to the portal or the gates or whatever we see as the red glowing cloak figure entrance. So I'm assuming he's been given certain abilities, rights, whatever you want to call it, to be able to just kind of come and go. Or, and ultimately there's a question here, or do you think he's been instructed to do these certain things, and so as the entity who has to do these things, he's given the ability to move within these very narrow confines? Okay, go open the gate, bang on the table, yell at him, and then come back. Go take the place of the guy on TV, then come back. Yeah, I would want to get your opinion as to what you think ultimately the powers of Tully are, because they seem kind of unlimited.
Yes, when in his particular case, when he is serving the devil, and the devil is someone who has quite a hunger.
Sure.
He is going to be given a lot of powers that enable him to do that. And anyone else that is serving, in this particular case, to bring souls into the lake of fire.
The lake?
And he is going to be given power.
Okay.
And he will use his. I feel that Tully was chosen for this.
Yeah.
He was picked. This is someone that, he's just right. As you mentioned before with the daughter, his whole past, and going into suicide. This is a perfect candidate for someone that can ultimately bring the devil his souls that he needs.
Sure.
So, you're going to give this guy carte blanche because he is serving the devil, and ultimately will bring more souls in.
Well, that's the problem with the devil, right? I mean, everything is in the details, right? It's you get to bring people back, you get to go and back and forth as you choose, but the lake is never satiated. Evil is never done, and so I just wonder what Tully had to give up, besides his life, what he had to give up to get these seemingly unlimited powers. I mean, was it the daughter to begin with? Was she kind of a sacrifice, or was that the tipping point? I I, I am fascinated by cult stuff. I watch a lot of cult things, and the interesting part to me is that every one of them, when you break it down, it's always the same MO. It is finding someone who is either an outcast, or is super down on their luck, or just has nothing else to live for. You find them at that right point. You suck them in to the family, or whatever it's called in that particular thing. And then they're willing to do anything for you. They're willing to give up whatever they need to get what they're looking for, which may be love, it may be ownership, it may be a lost loved one, whatever. Do you think that the daughter was the tripping point, or do we think there's more that caused him to ultimately create this? And I guess he created the cult, or maybe he just became the head of it. What do you think the actual tripping point was for him to do all of this and decide, well, okay, I guess I'll serve the devil now because that's what I need to do to get what I want?
Yeah. Again, as we talk about, really, he's a perfect prime candidate, as you
Sure.
certainly point out. And certainly, I believe the daughter was one of the flashpoints that led him to do what he did.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately suicide. I mean, this is such a perfect candidate for the devil.
He is.
So, as you bring out. So it's a multitude of different things. I really don't want to get too specific because, again, I'm probably treading on where Steve wants to go with the franchise. But I would probably say that, yes, everything we bring out about Tully's past and everything is, who could ask for a better candidate?
Yeah, you really couldn't. You really couldn't. So also, he seems to be a great manager because he's able to control the hotel for quite a while. Let me ask you about another character, which is Patrick.
Sure.
Patrick seems to be working at the hotel during
Patrick was working at the hotel, lazy. Look, if you have an hour break, it's an hour, it's not an hour and a half. And, and if you're going to take our clowns, I'm going to take that out of your paycheck.
That's right.
So, definitely. I'm sorry. Go on.
No, you're good. You're good. That's wonderful. So Patrick, I don't think you want to go over your hour break for the devil. I mean, that just seems like bad news to me. But okay, so we do believe that Patrick was working at the hotel. We believe this was at a time when Tully was running or owning the hotel. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So when we last see Patrick, his arm has healed. He's thrown away his sling. He is very one-minded about what he needs to accomplish. Now, I think you and I, or whoever as the audience, can kind of decide what that is, what his sole purpose is now, other than being a clown for eternity and pulling souls into the lake of fire. Do you think, and again, I'm asking you for speculation, which you may not be able to do. Do you think Patrick was dead? Number one. Or do you think Patrick just missed out on the whole thing, and so now he's doing anything he can to get into the graces of either Tully or ultimately the devil?
Well, I think you're spot on right in saying, he will do anything to get into with Tully and then ultimately the devil. As far as I can see, that's where Patrick was going,
Yeah.
And, but I really don't want to go any further.
Okay. All right. I don't mean to push, and I'm certainly not trying to.
You're not at all, Mike.
Okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
I just, I'll try to answer as best I can, but again, I don't want to say or step on Mr. Cogniti's mythology.
Oh, not at all. Yeah.
What he has. And again, being redundant, I think is one of the powers that he has as a filmmaker and a writer is leaving elements up to our imagination that we have to fill in.
Yeah.
And
Like you
for
said,
me,
like you said, that's way more frightening, right? The dark is more frightening than whatever's in the dark.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
By the way, Brian, this is Casey. I don't know if you can see him or not. This is my co-host.
Nice.
Just to give you a little background, Casey and I have been friends for 30 something years. We share a lot in common. One of the things that we do share is when we focus on something, and that thing right now is the Hell House movies. We tend to dive head first into it. And contact people that were stars of the movie so that we can finally talk to them. But Casey has a lot of, Casey's the kind of guy that will put on these movies looping in the background just while he does something else, just to get all of that mythology, all of that lore kind of in his brain so that the questions come up. So what we've talked about so far is number one, Brian won't tell me anything, but
well, we talked about that last night. I said that's one of those things where we're asking future questions, and that's kind of difficult. So
yeah. Do you think Tully?
Well, first of all, let me say, I just want to say I appreciate the interest in there and understand I just, it's like Casey was telling Mike, I just want to step on Stephen's mythology. I think he's created such a wonderful series here, and which the future is really infinite.
Yes.
And I do not want to in any way step on that.
Absolutely.
Well, when we first talked to him, he had kind of gotten the idea we wanted to expand on the universe, and we were like, no, we want to learn more canon. We don't want to come up with anything like that. So yeah, definitely understand where you're coming from on that point.
So do you think that Tully had a background as a preacher? Did he have that religion in his life that maybe went sour on him? I
think so. I think there's nothing worse than a fallen Catholic or a fallen someone who really does follow the Lord. If someone does go that route, and when they fall hard.
Yes.
And this is something that I believe Mr. Tully did. And there's only so much you can take. And when he reached that point where he realized, I'm serving the wrong person.
Yeah.
I'm serving. I should be serving. That was a real turning point. As
we talk about this, these ideas start rolling into my head about maybe that was part of it. That's what happened with the daughter. He pleaded with the Lord to bring his daughter back or to save her, and ultimately it didn't happen. And so he's like, well, screw this. I'm flipping to the other side. It's time to go play for the other team. I don't know if that's exactly what happened or not, but that's what this podcast is about, is trying to figure out maybe some of the dots between the if you look at the serial killer board on the wall and how everything's connected, we want whatever happens between this point and this point in the thread. That's what we're trying to uncover. So you said the fifth movie starts filming when?
Oh, I have no idea.
Okay.
Well, but that was clever.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.
Well, for that we got just a hint of what happened to Andrew, in that something happened to his daughter, and obviously he probably talked to God, but made some bargains. But the old saying that God answers all prayers. Sometimes the answer is just no. And Andrew found somebody that would probably say, yes, I can give you something. But I will extract something from you. And it was very interesting when we talked to Gideon, who played Patrick. We talked about that same thing with his sister and her passing, in the fact that there was someone who would bring her back, and he would have to give something to that person. And we even asked him, because in the movie, Patrick sees her, or we only see her as a demon. She looks very demonic. And we asked Patrick, do you think as your character, did you get what you wanted out of that bargain? Did you see her as she was? And he said, when I think about it, I think Patrick saw her in both forms, and he was happy to have either one of them. And it plays so much. Those characters like Tully and Patrick play so much to that humanity that I want anything to get that person back. And that's when Mike and I've said it before about this movie. The devil is very opportunistic, and he will again. It goes all the way back to Faust and the overrunning theme of Faust. I will give you what you want so you can experience life, but I will extract a toll in the end.
I don't know that that's talked about enough. The direct correlation to Faust. It's very woven into this story, which is brilliant because it doesn't hit you over the head. But if you back up a little bit and look at the larger picture, you can see how this is a retelling for the most part in a haunted house. I mean, that's really what we're dealing with. So having said that, what do you think Tully got out of this bargain ultimately? And let's put power aside and things like that. What do you think he got out of it?
Well, ultimately, the power that he got, but also to him, hell is glorious.
Yeah.
Now to us, it's our worst nightmare. But
Sure.
to him, again, I use the word glorious. Wonderful writing again by Mr. Cognetti. Just the way that this character embraces hell. And with it and everything about it really makes him very, very interesting. This is something that he ultimately thinks is something that, gosh, why wouldn't everyone want to go there? Why wouldn't everyone want to be in the lake of fire?
Sure.
Well, and Mike and I talk about this too, is there's got to be, and to speak directly to that point, Tully is probably a little bit further up the food chain than somebody like, poor Molly that just gets thrown in there. There's probably a lot of people digging ditches in hell.
That's right.
That's not so glorious for them. But it's like when you get up that chain, it's probably that he can see that, and that's what's interesting. It's his idea that in some way he was, for lack of a better word, inspired to start this and to continue this process of growing this lake of fire. And and as you were speaking, he believes it's helping people, which is, for us, seems very strange, but for him and his followers, obviously, they really thought it was what they wanted and what they needed.
Yeah. So let me ask just a couple more questions. A couple questions, and we'll let you go. I know you're a busy man. The song that's played on the piano, we find that there are lyrics, which just wonderful, uplifting lyrics about dying and never coming back. But his sister asks, Patrick's not there, but she asks, Patrick, who are you working for? Right? Ultimately about this song. Can you give us any, guess at what's the company? Because I understand we're all working for the devil, right? We get it. Everybody's working for the devil at this point. But what do you think even a money laundering scheme has to have a front, right? And so what do we think the front is? Is it the hotel? After the hotel burns down, what's it going to be now?
Well, you bring up a very good point on this, Mike. Again, I go back to the Dylan song, you have to serve somebody.
Yeah.
And it may be the devil or it may be the Lord, but you got to serve somebody. Serving is a whole different thing than working.
Sure.
Or an organization or doing something. No, you're serving somebody. This is serving something that you really, really believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something that Patrick shares with Tully.
Yeah.
You are serving the devil.
Yeah.
And that's takes it up to a whole other different level, Casey and Mike. It takes it up to an entirely different level.
Yes.
Sure.
New series.
And I don't know if Mike had asked you this before. I apologize. We got our times crossed, and now I guess if
it's fine.
somebody's going to the Lake of Fire first, it's going to be me. But were you involved? Were you involved in the fourth movie? As far as
No, Casey, I was not. No.
Okay, because we had a very interesting conversation with Pat Gideon, who played Patrick, and it came to just that. What was his involvement with the hotel? And he had obviously at this point, in asking you that, he had come up with this very intricate backstory that his character was working at the Abaddon primarily as the bartender, and he would have conversations in the evening with Andrew Tully. He saw, and Patrick or Gideon said his character saw Andrew Tully as a mentor, and I thought. Well, and I was very curious about that because that's a very insidious thing in the whole idea of the hotel is that you bring in this young man, you become his mentor, you put him in a very, very high profile spot to where he is serving patrons, he's talking to patrons, he's finding out who might be missed, who might not be missed. And then he tells Andrew, well, I was talking to this young mother and her daughter, and there's no father at home, and they're kind of estranged from their family, maybe. And Tully takes that information and runs with it, maybe with or without Patrick's knowledge. I thought that was just, it makes it even a little bit more ingenious that he came up with that. I was just wondering if there's any conversation between you two about that, but it put him in a very, very, like I said, insidious place of kind of being this guy who's doing the front running and trying to find these people.
So had you two gone over any of that? Have you had any conversations about the relationship there?
Not at all, Casey and Mike.
Okay.
Actually, but that's the wonderful mythology behind these films.
Sure.
That he could go in there and look at that and take from that and again, it's wonderful writing, that Cognetti has done on this, and just little things that he will set up from in one film that'll tip you off to something else for the next film.
Yeah.
Ultimately, maybe even shed some light on the previous film.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Well, that was one of the questions we asked Stephen. Like, did you have all this planned out? And he was like, absolutely not. I just made a movie. I made a first movie, and then I got a chance to make a second and a third and a fourth. And so he told tales of having to go drive to the Abaddon and get the clock and put it in the back of his car and take it to the set, and the whole, the guerrilla style filming of this thing, the 14-day shooting schedule. I don't know what your experience was with that, but it just says we were talking last night before this interview. We were like, I would love to be on one of those sets just to watch you guys work, because I can't even imagine what all goes into it.
It was terrific, really. For me, it was wonderful. When I came back to the Lake of Fire, the third one, it was like coming home. It's a little creepy.
It's a little frightening, yeah. A little frightening.
Yeah, but it was, first of all, Stephen surrounds himself by very, very good people, and it was a wonderful set, wonderful to work on. But there are elements that are kind of interesting. In the first film, you see my character hang himself.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, we didn't have a suit that day that we were shooting that particular scene. So Stephen said to Angie, who's working there, can we get a hold of the suit that happened on the first film, to see if it's there? And so sure enough, she brings down the suit, and Casey and Mike, I'm telling you, I couldn't have gone to a tailor and had it fitted any better than what it was.
Yeah.
The shoes were perfect.
Yeah.
The coat, everything. I mean, it was, Stephen chalked it up to, it's a happy accident, but was it?
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's one of the perks of working for the devil. You're styled very nicely. Yeah. Okay. So one more thing about Tully and what Tully might think about this. Something that's kind of alluded to in you going on TV as Tully and the future speak of the town in general. It feels very much like the town is complicit in what is going on. What is your thought on the fact that the town knows what's going on and maybe has to help in maybe in just a way of staying out of the way? Do you think there's something there as far as the town actually kind of knowing what's going on, but doing their part to kind of keep it at bay?
Well, I think it's a combination of many things, but certainly if you had something like this happen in a town, especially as Stephen said it, in a fictitious upstate New York area, which deals a lot with tourism, maybe this isn't the kind of thing you want to have exposed. And I think that's one of the things that were wonderful about his character, Tassel. You know, look, this didn't happen. Are you kidding? There's nothing here to break it, you know, because you're taking revenue away from the town and people. So it's a kind of a combination, really, of a number of different things. People know that there's something very, very wrong has gone here, and if that were to get out, well, there goes our revenue.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's you know, reminiscent of Jaws or anything else. You know, you don't want the shark. You don't want anybody talking about the shark. You know, the shark doesn't exist. Same deal with a haunted house or the devil, I guess.
Well, the officials keep the word down, and then a parent in the Jaws case would just keep their child out of the water. Yeah. So here, you know, lock your doors at night. Don't go to the hotel. Don't speak. But there is this idea that even then there's a force greater that the town probably couldn't stop if they wanted to. Yeah. And that goes back.
That's a good point, Casey. You know, sound advice. You know, act as if nothing happened, but lock those doors.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yeah.
Well, and even in the fourth movie, it was interesting that they talked about how the ceremony that was going on at the Abaddon had kind of spiked out and affected other places around the area, the Carmichael Manor being one of them. So that may lead back to those people that were complicit in it. They had opened up their doors so that should the Abaddon ever fall, there would be other portals available.
Do you think Tully gets along with the clowns?
Oh, yeah, famously. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I was telling Mike earlier, Casey, I'm still very upset at Patrick for stealing it's going to come out of his paycheck.
That's right. That's right. We were talking about how, if you're working at the hotel, you're ultimately working for the devil. You don't want to go a minute over your break. You know, I mean, that's that seems to be, that would be rough. Okay. So again, Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for being so affable about this. We really appreciate it. Can I ask you a couple questions about you as an actor?
Oh, sure. Please.
Okay.
I never get tired of talking about me.
Sure. Okay. So I saw that you were in 2022's American Horror Story.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, that's a big part.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. No, it was wonderful. Our Lady J directed it, and it was just a wonderful experience.
Yeah.
And I think I told Stephen, if I didn't, there were a couple of people who realized that I was part of the Abaddon Hotel franchise, Hell House franchise. And almost everyone collectively said that of all the found genre films, horror films, and you could kind of combine that almost with a haunted house element. This is right up there, if not the best, certainly one of the best. You know, and I was happy to hear people who really know horror, like you gentlemen, say that, and it was very Have you
ever seen Phantasm, the original Phantasm?
No, I have not.
Okay. Okay. I think there's a part there for you if somebody ever wants to remake that. I think you would play a very good tall man, the guy who runs the place. So put your feelers out. Make sure you get somebody on that.
Should we ever hit the lottery, Mike? You're on Mike's short list.
We're gonna remake Phantasm. Yeah, that's the first thing we spend bucks on. Okay, so American Horror Story, that's fantastic. Dumb Money. Tell me about your experience with Dumb Money, because I have yet to see it. I'm very excited to see it because it is one of the silliest things that's ever happened in American commerce. But tell me about your experience there.
Well, yeah, you're absolutely right, Mike. I mean, and the timing of it too. At the height of the COVID, suddenly you have these Robin Hood investors and blow up this hedge fund, and suddenly Wall Street, as if it didn't have enough problems already, takes a real big dive. My whole thing, Craig Gillespie directed it. He also directed I, Tonya, a wonderful director. And it was very much go ahead and improvise during the whole thing. So my scene is I'm an old man. Boy, there's some typecasting going on there. And I come out and I terrorize poor America Ferrara, who's having a hell of a year.
Yeah.
And basically it was all improvised, and it was a wonderful experience. The film, I'm not sure. I think it's gonna hopefully around since the strike and everything. Hopefully it has legs around award season. Hopefully it'll either be released or go on Netflix or something. I'm not sure what to do.
Yeah,
but
I know it's out there for purchase now. So I mean, you can certainly rent it or buy it now, whatever that means these days, because you're no longer allowed to hold anything. So everything's electronic. So what's next for you besides that fifth film?
Just got a cast in film that's going to be, first we were going to shoot it in December, and then it's going to be shot in January. But the dates are tentative, and I'm the type of person who really doesn't want to talk too much about it until I'm on set, it's done, and it's released. But so at least we're all kind of feeling our way back after the strike. So and things are starting to shape up. That was good. I was glad to get cast in something, especially in a year like this.
Certainly.
I'll take it. But thank you for asking.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited to see anything that you're in. I really appreciate you taking this time with us, and I hope that once we get this project out and rolling, that maybe we're able to contact you again.
Oh, I appreciate it, Mike. Anytime, Mike and Casey, it's been an absolute pleasure. And, anytime we talk about Mr. Cognetti's work is fine with me, because I believe he is really trying to do something that most filmmakers, especially in the horror genre, don't attempt to do. It's really set up this whole mythology.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to do when you don't have a centralized like slasher character or something like that to go around.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Brian David Tracy, thank you so much for spending time with us. And it was a pleasure meeting you, talking to you, and not getting any information out of you. We really enjoyed it.
And I just want to say that in doing this, Mike and I have talked about this a lot, is we see the passion, and we get to see the actors and actresses talk about their craft and how they created those characters and what they put into it. And hopefully it lets you guys enjoy it a little bit more. Like I said, there's interviews where you're, answering the same questions over and over. And we want to know about how you got to somewhere with your character and how you feel that's going to play out in the future, which is, not just limited to film number 4, what's going to happen later on down the road. And it's really been enjoyable to me just to do that and see the passion people put into these things.
Yeah. And the fact that Tully's dead, you can do anything you want at this point. So you're good. Yeah. You can just keep coming back.
Exactly. That's a wonderful thing. No, we appreciate the passion that you guys have.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate that. It was a pleasure meeting you, and
we appreciate it.
I hope you have a great holiday, and hope that the movies keep rolling in, and we'll be watching.
I appreciate that, Mike and Casey. It was so great to work with you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
All right. You have a good one.
You too. Take care.
Goodbye. I meant to send you that text earlier today.
That's all right.
Because I was like, oh shit, I bet he still thinks it's 2:00.
Well, we went to 12:30. And then I was
Oh
like,
shoot! Hey, let's. Oh, we forgot. Don't stop the recording. We forgot about it. So, couple things. Number one, he was fantastic because he did talk about his character a lot, but boy, is he cagey about new information, which tells me maybe something's coming.
well, yeah, and the something's coming is going to be all about him. I mean, Stephen pretty much said that already.
Yeah.
And they just don't want anything to get out.
No.
I think it's building.
Yeah.
Everyone's a little bit bigger, and they're gonna hit something. What's a tipping point? It's going to be out in the general knowledge. General
Yeah.
public will
Yeah.
see it, and this may be.
Well,
may be
again,
it.
when you get somebody like Mike Flanagan saying, "Boy, that's a good movie," well, how do you not make another one? I mean, there's got to be something coming. Plus, there's just so many questions. He did perk up when I asked him about the haunted painting of the girl. He said that was a good thing that we caught, and that was you.
Yeah.
You caught that part. And he was very cagey about it, but you could tell that will play some sort of part in whatever's going forward.
Okay, so maybe
Oh, she's calling you.
No, but close.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's our buddy Melvin. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really cool because it's such a, like the Easter egg is right there in front of you, but the fact that I think it was the third movie where they zoom in on that painting and kind
No,
of
it was a fourth one.
It was a fourth one.
When
Okay.
they talked specifically about him
Yeah.
and about his daughter, and they zoomed in on it, and that's when you really got a good look at it. And then I told you, I said that's one of those crying boys, of which there were even fewer
Yeah.
crying girls.
Yeah.
And
The whole idea is the fact that the painting cries at some point. Is that?
they're paintings of children who are crying. They're very disturbing, and nobody really knows why. They know kind of why they took off is because they sold a few of them. And
Well, they're creepy as shit. That's why they took off.
Well, this was, they didn't really understand why people would want them in their house because they are very, very creepy. It's not a child, first of all, and they're crying. And
it is a very small audience, I would think. Yeah.
there were multiple fires in England, house fires, in which the only thing that survived were these paintings. And there was actually a fireman who was tracking this.
Yeah.
And the Sun got a hold of it, the tabloid over there.
Okay.
And they made a big deal out of it about how
yeah.
these things, if you have one, it's going to burn your house down.
Yeah.
And people got very frightened of them to the point, at some point, the Sun had to run an article to where if you will bring these things to us, we will destroy them.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I've got to get on a list just to get rid of a can of paint.
Yeah.
What do I have to do to get rid of a demonic painting?
So that kind of speaks to, maybe something in his deal.
Yeah.
In that painting, kind of like what is it? It's Dorian Gray, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe as long as the painting's there.
See, they're coming for us. You hear it?
Yeah.
Here they come. So one of the things and this is very simplistic when you think about it, because I don't know why I haven't thought about this before, but in talking to Brian, I think something happened to the daughter and he prayed real hard to get her better or whatever. And then ultimately God let him down, and that's what drove him to these guys. And ultimately he was in the right place at the right time for whoever these guys are to draw him in and make him like the guy, I did ask him about whether Tully had any special powers, because it does seem like Tully is able to just come and go as he pleases.
Yeah. But
it could be that he is instructed to do very specific things, and that's just what we're seeing. To us as the audience, it kind of looks like, well, he can just come and go as he wants. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's a specific thing he has to go do. Open the gate, go yell at the kids, then come back with a soul. Go open the gate, go on TV to pretend to be this guy, and then come back. You know, that may be what's happening behind the scenes. But I think, like you said, I think he's a little bit further up the food chain than especially like the guys in the robes.
Yeah, I think so. And so you think that maybe these two guys, they just say, man, we prefer the suits.
Yeah.
We're not the face men of this deal.
Yeah.
And he comes along and he's just angry enough at this point to where.
Well, we started talking about cult stuff, and, you know, like I told him, every cult show I watch is exactly the same, ultimately. You know, they pick people that are down on their luck or in a certain vulnerable position, they pull them in, and then those people are willing to do anything for this entity or this cult or this family, you know? And this is no different, I would imagine. I do like the idea, though, that he was very religious to begin with. His God that he had worshiped for a long time let him down, and so he decided to play for the other team.
Well, it's that whole thing, and like we talked about is, however the rules play out, you know, it's a lot of times you don't get the answers you want.
Sure. Well, devil's in the details, like we've talked about a million times.
The prayers to your higher power sometimes. You know, sometimes it is no.
Yeah.
For whatever purpose on down the road. That, and we as humans are so we don't understand that. We understand the here and the now. Mm-hmm. And the devil knows that. Yeah. And these people, they want to be satisfied right now. Yeah. So I can do this, and I've got.
I'll be glad to help you out with that, but you gotta give me a couple of things.
And people are willing to trade.
Yeah. There's no way they don't make a fifth one with him, though, right?
No, I think.
I mean, it's gotta be about.
I don't know. I don't know where you would go, what story you would come back with that wouldn't be. There would be so many more questions.
It would be him on the road, on the run, possibly the thing about his daughter, whatever happened there, and then running into these two guys. Ultimately, the fair, was it there at the Abaddon?
That's the thing that I don't know. They always talk about the Rockland County Fair, which to me, that is an annual thing that has been going on. Yeah, yeah. But in multiple movies, like especially the third one, they were out back, they were walking around, and Michael Wynn said, yeah, this is where the fair was. They're over there, right behind the Abaddon was where they had the hayride where people got hurt.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But
people got hurt at the hayride.
But the photographs from Western Kentucky, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah.
And then this happens, and I don't know if it was just the one fair where her name escapes me. Yeah. The actress the first interview. Yeah. It was Bridget, but I can't remember her character's name. Right. You know, she was almost abducted at this same fair. Yeah. Was it that same fair where somebody got hurt at the hayride and the other people went missing and all of this other thing?
Well, that's the other thing. Like when you start thinking about the fair and its importance in this story, was it a cyclical kind of thing? You know, did it come around once a year, like you say? When it landed at other places, which fairs are that's kind of what they're set up to do, you know, circus fair, whatever. We get a lot of those that set up in a freaking parking lot, you know, and then you blindly get on rides and expect not to get hurt.
That came off a trailer.
That's right.
A few hours
10
before.
minutes earlier. Yeah. And you know, the people that work the rides aren't necessarily always, they're not local politicians. Let's put it that way. Right. So you wonder if during this rotation of this fair / circus or whatever it is from town to town, did they set up and steal souls everywhere they went? Or was it just at the Abaddon because that's where the Hellmouth was, or for lack of a better term?
Or was that, the maybe that was just the ending place where they got big enough. Yeah. You know, were they going from town to town picking up steam with new apostles for the cult? Right. And finally, when they hit a certain number, they said, you need to
and maybe
make a place.
This was their place, right? This is where they all had to come, where they all had to commit suicide, and that's the other thing we don't talk about a lot is who all was in this group.
That's it. Yeah. That's
you know? So what you're saying is it's possibly the people that ran the fair and the people they picked up along the way. It's like a traveling revival or something, right?
And then at some point they were told,
Yeah.
listen, we're done with this. The fairs,
Yeah.
we're not doing. You're moving up. You're setting up a hotel.
There's no money in knocking down these clowns. Yeah. The clowns want to run stuff now.
And then, they're bringing it back.
Yeah.
They bring that up in the fourth movie, so it may start there.
Bringing back what, the fair?
The fair.
Oh,
remember?
Oh, I guess I missed that.
That was it was a little at the end of it, like a closing after the credits.
Gotcha.
And she was there, and she said, "Oh yeah, they're bringing the fair back." And she stands up and walks away,
and then the clowns in the back
in the window. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they may start there, and then it may kind of time lapse back to other things.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Number one, if I see that clown, I don't want anything to do with it because it's a very bloody clown.
It is. They're all got a little blood on them.
Yeah. I don't think I would just point my kids in that direction.
Well, I guess since they've been hit by those balls, they've been downed. They've been downed a few times. So
they've been knocked down, but they keep getting up, just like Chumbawamba.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I really enjoyed that. I thought he was a super nice guy. To be able to come on here and talk about ultimately nothing about the character other than what he put into it.
That his hands are probably pretty tight.
Oh,
he's
absolutely.
probably been in some talks, and they've got it, because again, like he said about going to find Carmichael Manor, that took a while.
Yeah.
I think he said the first place fell through, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
So
yeah. Yeah. And this was the Johnson & Johnson house, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would, in addition to his backstory, I would also like to know more about the guys in the hoods. The one thing that opened up to me about the hoods, okay, they're just, again, I keep going back to Phantasm, but they are like the little Jawas in Phantasm. They're just taller.
They're demons
grown
because
up.
you see their kind of skeleton faces.
But the one that makes me really think about what they are and what they do is in that fourth film when you see that one just like standing off in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
Why? What is that purpose? Because it obviously wasn't to reap those souls right then and there. Plus, we've talked about that little trailer, the police tape, all of that stuff. So there's another story there.
I think and we talked about it right at the end.
The hearse.
We talked about it right at the end is the movie. The fourth one talks about when that strangeness happened and they opened the portal, things happened at various different locations. Yeah. And Carmichael House was one of them.
Yeah.
And that was, again, I think if something, obviously, foreseeing things, something would happen to the Abaddon, which it did. Now there's just another portal away from people.
Yeah. The one thing I didn't ask him that I wish I had was about Easter eggs. Like if there's anything that people haven't found yet, or different things that have been dropped. What amazes me about that kind of stuff is the fact that, and this is all to Cognetti's credit, if there are other Easter eggs and things like that out there, everybody's really tight-lipped about it. And so, congratulations on being able to keep that kind of stuff under cloak and dagger until somebody finds it. I think that is that's got to be one of the hardest things is try to get people not to talk about what's going on in the movie or what they think about, or what they've dropped in it that maybe nobody has found yet.
Yeah. And I know that's the stuff we want really people to talk about.
Yeah, that's all I want. I just want to trip one of these folks up and get them to talk about all this stuff. No, I don't. No, he was fantastic. Okay. Well, we've got one more of these today. We are talking with
Joy
Schatz. Yeah. And she was
Molly.
She was Molly, which Molly gets a bad rap, I think, a lot of the time. Because Molly was an unwilling participant in all of this.
She was scared from the get-go.
She was.
Best case, she doesn't like to go to regular haunted houses.
That's right.
And,
yeah, well, you went to your last one. So
and Tully mentioned how those most fearful make the best guess.
I'm sure. Well, it's like Monsters, Inc., right? Yeah. You're living off the screams or whatever, that kind of thing. All right. Well,
do you think maybe it's cross promotional
I
thing?
think
Maybe
so.
that's
Yeah,
what it is.
I think Disney buys this franchise and then they just
I think
put the
maybe
monsters in there.
maybe that's one of the monsters. He says, "I'm going to
Sure.
open this portal, and we're going to
Sure.
get all the energy we need."
Sure,
You know,
that's right.
it's Sully.
Scream into that hole.
It's
right
Sully.
there.
It's Sully and Scully.
Sully and Tully.
Tully.
That's right. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
That's right. It's a buddy cop film all of a sudden. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining me, man. I appreciate it.
We made it.
Oh, we did. We did. Just in time. All right. We'll see you guys next time.
Talk to you later.
Bye. You can find Abaddon Eyes exploring the Hell House LLC universe anywhere you get your podcasts or at roguemedianetwork.com.
I found the gateway, and it's glorious. Play us a song.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production. In a world where dreams meet reality, there exists a place where your business can flourish. That place is Shopify. Imagine having the power to craft your online store with tools that make it as easy as a gentle breeze. Whether you're an artisan of handmade wonders, a creator of digital treasures, or a curator of the latest trends, Shopify stands by your side. With its customizable templates, seamless integrations, and support that's always there, your dream store is just a heartbeat away. Join millions of visionaries around the globe and let Shopify guide you on your journey. Visit roguemedianetwork.com/Shopify. That's roguemedianetwork.com/SHOPIFY. And embark on your free trial. Shopify, where your commerce dreams come to life.